Dr. Khalid Mahdi, it's an honor and pleasure to welcome you at the American International University. We're very much looking forward to your visit to learn more about the new Kuwait. Now, as a start, can you just tell us what is the goal of the new Kuwait vision and its purpose? I know it's long, it can take forever, but I'm sure you're going to just briefly tell us what is it all about, this Kuwait vision.
See, the Kuwait vision, or New Kuwait 2035, is a transformation program for the country, which is intended to let the economy led by the private sector and change the role of the government to be more of an enabling government, as well as regulating and monitoring, allowing the private sector to expand its activity, however, with the regulation and monitoring of the government. Also, the vision focus on the development of the human capital of the country. At the end of the day, the economy of any country will rely and depends on the efficiency, the productivity of the human capital. So these are the major, let me put it in a way, the strategic direction for the Kuwait Vision 2035. But I would summarize it in a very important statement. It is a transformation of the country by taking the sustainability practices of the old Kuwait combined with the wealth and the prosperity of the modern Kuwait in order to make a future which is more prosperous and sustainable for the next generation.
You spoke about several times about, and you insisted about transforming Kuwait into a finance hub. We're talking about the economy. In what sense is this Kuwait vision going to transform Kuwait into this finance and economic hub?
Kuwait being a trading hub throughout the history, as I showed in this presentation, that we are naturally, and it's built in our DNA, that the country is a trading hub, and it has a lot of its economic activity are trading. So we are a village of traders at the end of the day. And the location and the logistics we are created throughout the history. The transformation to a trading hub is becoming natural. And this is stated in the clear vision of 2035 of Kuwait. Now, to achieve the target of transforming to a trading hub, there are several pillars that need to be first, as a prerequisite, need to be achieved and established and create the fundamental for that transformation to come natural. So you cannot jump on building a hub without having all the bases being set. You need to develop the human capital. You need to develop a government with an enabling mechanism, not operating mechanism. You need to develop the infrastructure to carry out, and also you need to have the legislations and the legislator ecosystem for such a transformation to happen.
So all these things are entrenched. Now I'm just going to move on to the higher education. How do you see programs like engineering, biotechnology, biomedical, business and computer science, for instance, that AIU is offering, helping Kuwait move towards achieving the goal of 2035, and also how can our graduates play a role in it?
Two things. The first thing is to build the skills. What is missing right now in the labor market is the skill gap. We have a lot of good graduates with sufficient knowledge, let me put it this way. But skill-wise, there is a gap. And this gap is becoming bigger more and more. We need from all universities, whether government university or private university, is to focus on building a skill within the curriculum, and we should stay away from what I call the classical and traditional curriculum. As I mentioned, this generation will not accept easily the way that we used to learn. There is a very interesting saying in Arabic that said, our kids are not born for our age. They are built for another era. So we need to have these curriculum to be adaptive in a way, not as tools, but as a content as well. So the skill is a very important. The second part of the story is the alignment. It's a dilemma. It's a global dilemma. Who will be responsible for the alignment? Academic institution or the market itself? Now, if you take me as an example, I'm a chemical engineer by education, but I'm working on development areas related to at national. So that's a transformation. So either you build 10, that's a transformation, and you work yourself hard to adapt for the labor market or what is needed, or we make the alignment from the institution itself. Currently, this is not yet being conclusive. And every time we discuss this issue, the academic institution, they more often the push mechanism. We send you the graduate to the labor market should transform them to whatever things they want. Or we said, you know what? The academic institution should change based on that labor market. We are supporting more of a skill development issues and also to have a program which are adaptive. Currently, the government regulation of a private university, which you are very aware of, it has a slower wave of change compared to the labor market change. Let's assume that one of the private university like UIC decided, okay, you know what, we need to create financial technology program. How long it takes in the government to approve it and you start to graduate? By the time you do that, the labor market will be either saturated or the demand will become low. So that dynamic and the labor market is way higher than the dynamicity of the academic institution. So what I can tell you, you should, as a program, have adaptive type curriculum. There are basic knowledge, which is a must and needed, but there are also adaptive classes, courses, program to be built in the curriculum. And being a professor at Kuwait University for some time, I see that development of adapting and dynamic curriculum is not easy. I always play in the elective selection for the student and focusing on what I call multiple routes or concentrations. I'm a believer of concentrations. Give me the basic, show me the concentration. And this concentration should be adaptive and dynamic based on what the market needs. By the way, we are currently working on a big survey. It's called the Skill Survey. And I thank UIC because we are sending also to everybody. We get response from your reputable university and from others as well. We are trying to look at what are the skills needed. And once we have the result of the survey done, we will send you also the result. So you will be developing the priorities for the curriculums or the program you want based on what is needed.
Talking now, the last point is that you have, I've read your resume, it's impressive, and you have co-authored a lot of journals, articles, books. You established and you are leading many research centers, 4 main research centers, notably the Kuwait Policy Center, correct me if the term is correct, if not correct, the Kuwait Policy Centers. Now, how do you see that you are within this vision? What are your biggest ambition when it comes to this vision, the Kuwait 2035 vision? What are your biggest ambitions in that vision? It's big, it's a lot, it has 7 main pillars. Now, your main ambition since the day you started working on?
Synergizing.
Okay.
Synergizing is what I would like to see before I leave my term. We managed to establish a platform for the synergy, but not complete yet. I do believe that synergizing the efforts in the government. When I jumped in 2016, I saw a lot of silos. And we work in the General Secretariat as the bridge making. So bridging these silos and establish communication platform was not an easy task. Corona, I call it, by the way, COVID-19 invasion, put us together so the communication become faster and force us to go on digital transformation, make the communication faster. But number one requirement of synergizing is communication. People, they don't speak the same language. Private sector does not speak the language of the government sector, not the language of the civil societies, not the language of the international organization. We need an interpreter and a translator among all of these to create that bridge and synergy. We achieve, to an extent, part of it, but there is more to go, and we leave this to the next guy in the row to take it forward and deepen that synergization. That synergization will enable leadership to trickle their vision down. At the end of the day, a leader needs followers. We have the vision, we have the leadership, we have scattered followers, we need to put them all together in synergy, and that engine will move. Kuwait is a very subtle and resilient system to change. Not easy to carry out change in Kuwait. You know, the degree of separation in Kuwait is 0.9. If I don't know you, I know someone who knows you.
Okay, yeah, it's small.
It's very small. So we look at it, an interconnected social network, make policy making and implementation very hard.
Interesting. Last point. What is your message to youth, future generations of Kuwait, to our students of AIU, or be they our students or other students or other youth? What's your message?
By the way, I have kids which are really old, the Generation Z, and I have Generation BZ at home.
Okay.
And I have millennial as well. But I can tell you, our kids now, they don't want our lecturing or advices. They will not listen to direct advice. But I will tell them one thing, just be safe. And make sure the information you are receiving is correct. And my clear message is, ask questions. That's it. If you don't ask questions, your mind will never be what we are looking for in a new Kuwait. A new Kuwait is based on a creative human capital. And creativity starts with asking questions. So I want them to ask questions. I want to listen to their question, and I want to ask them to try to answer the question. Our job now, to facilitate. This generation, the coming generation, they have one main characteristic. They don't want to be led directly, but we can influence them indirectly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khalid Mahdi. It's been an honor. We've been discussing about your arrival since a year now, and it happened. It's never too late. We're very honored, and with Dr. Pishko, the president. Yeah.
Well,
and we look forward to hosting you again.
Your president is not just a colleague in the chemical engineering, but I share a lot with you.